a lot of words. So I will be giving my response to them, but my response also raises the issues they claim made them deny me a practicing certificate. And I'm saying I have received with dismay your letter dated the 6th December 2024, declining my application for a special practicing certificate. In your letter under reference, you raise several issues which require response, albeit for the record. You state that copies of my practicing certificate, letter of good standing from the Law Society of Kenya were not notarized. And further, my nationality documents and academic qualifications were not attached. You further take issue that my application did not attach Mr. Lukwago's practicing certificate. Rather than use these reasons to decline my application, one would expect that the Law Council would have asked for additional documents. Mr. Lukwago is not only a well-known personality as the Lord Mayor of Kampala, but a practicing advocate running a law firm. On the issue whether I bring any special skill, with respect, it is for Dr. Besigye and not the Law Council to determine and choose an advocate or advocates of choice. It is his constitutional right, while your role is to use your discretion under the Advocates Act of Uganda judiciously. You cast aspersions on me, claiming that I held out as a person holding a valid practicing certificate in Uganda when I attended the court-martial hearing of Dr. Besigye's case on the 2nd of December 2024. This is totally untrue. As a visiting jurist, I sat with Mr. Lukwago, who introduced me to the court, and those who are there will attest to this, as the lead counsel of choice for Dr. Besigye, and informed the court-martial that I was still waiting for a practicing certificate to be able to take up my position as team leader. That actually was the reason why the case for Dr. Besigye and Mr. Lutale was adjourned to tomorrow. So to claim that I held out is totally untrue. I do not know where the Law Council got such information from. I take great exception to this founded allegation by yourselves, which constitutes an attack, unfounded allegation by yourselves, which constitutes an attack on my character and integrity and undermines the spirit of the East African Treaty. As a citizen of Jumuiya and a jurist, I accompanied Mr. Lukwago and other advocates to the Chief Justice's chamber to inquire about the ruling which has a bearing on Dr. Besigye's case and which is almost 4 years old. We visited those chambers to see the Chief Justice in his capacity as the top administrator of the judiciary. I do not agree that I need a practicing certificate to ask an administrative question. As for taking issue with my robes, that I went robed, that's why I have come to the press conference robed. These are my robes. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, a state within the Jumuiya. conferred with the rank of senior counsel, I can wear my robes anywhere, including to the market. So I do not see how that has a bearing on the issue of a practicing certificate. Finally, I'm saying your tone, disparaging and personalized attack on my person and character does not bode well for the Jumuiya and for other people visiting Uganda. You would imagine that the President of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, being a staunch advocate of the Jumuiya, and now it is Uganda, treating in an unexpected manner a jurist from Kenya, and a senior counsel at that. We would expect that the law council would use their discretion judiciously in determining whether to grant a license. At this time, I will retreat with the local, my colleagues who are local, because I think there are critical issues that are raised by the response by the law council, which actually go against the laws of Uganda and the East African Treaty. And we shall definitely be taking further action. Tomorrow I'll be accompanying them to court. I don't have to be a lawyer in the case now that I've been denied a license. I will go as an observer, and I'll go robed because it's not an offense to wear my robes. I studied to be able to wear these robes, and I'll wear them wherever I want. Finally, one thing we must say when considering an application for a visiting lawyer, I think one of the cardinal issues is to facilitate an accused person to have counsel of choice. Counsel of choice doesn't mean one lawyer. It could be 100. And I am hoping that there will be more lawyers than there was in the other case, because then they are able to study, research on various aspects of the case, and contribute to the case at hand. The charges leveled against our friend, colleague, because he practices politics like I do, and practicing politics is not an offense, because the law council says that I'm here not just as a lawyer, but they think there's a political agenda. The case itself is a political agenda. How can you divorce politics from the law? The two are so closely related. Leadership is a political agenda. Issues of whether the military court can try a civilian are so political as they are legal. I don't want to go beyond that, but we'll keep marching on. You know that today we have a colleague lawyer from Angola who is making her way here. It's part of the reason why we delayed you a little. There are also several lawyers from Kenya, and one of whom have applied for a practicing certificate. I will advise him maybe not to rob so that he may not be denied. Her names, her full names.
Hello everyone. My name is Margaret Nangakovie. I'm a lawyer for human rights in Angola. I was invited to this initiative by Dr. Marta, and I'm glad to be here because I think this movement for freedom in Africa is our fight, our contribution against authoritarianism. And we hope that our presence can strengthen our cooperation through Africa as well, because Uganda problems are similar to everywhere in Africa, even in Angola. So we are here to show our solidarity, but also our protest. I would say there's very this savage act of abducting a civilian and bring him to a military court as an act of intimidation, oppressing civil liberties as well. So I hope to support Dr. Martha, and with colleagues, I hope for us to create this movement of protest through Africa and raise also awareness around this case. Thank you.
We received our colleagues from Tanzania and from Kenya. So we hope to be more than we are. Thank you very much.
So you're most welcome.
Leads the team in Uganda.
Okay.
They had invited me as a lead lawyer from Kenya, but my certificate was declined. We will be giving you the reasons later.
And all those dynamics and how we can navigate around the same. Oh, yes.
Yes. There is leadership right through the chain. So there is no question of saying there is no leadership. The question is, will Besigye get lawyers of his choice? And it is not for anybody else to ask, what special talent do you bring? It's for Besigye under the Constitution and Mr. Rutale to ask, is this the team I want? Nobody else can ask that question. That runs right through.
You see, there are two things I can explain here, probably, just to amplify this, to buttress the point. The right to legal representation is constitutional and is universal. And the right to choose a lawyer, as she stated here, is not restricted to only one lawyer. It's a team. Now, it's a critical element of the right to fair hearing. If you deny Dr. Besigye the right to choose lawyers of his choice, more so the leadership of that particular team. In this letter, there are two things here, if you may permit me, Senior Counsel.
Please.
There are things here they are indicating that the Law Council has not hitherto considered or granted an application to a legal practitioner from another country to appear in a court in a criminal case. Applications that have been brought, considered and granted have been in civil matters. Can you imagine how outlandish that statement is? That there is no right to have lawyers coming from outside the jurisdiction of Uganda in the criminal matters? That simply because there is no precedent, therefore, it is not allowed. The other thing is, Uganda is not yet a party to the mutual recognition agreement to allow the free movement of legal practitioners to practice in the courts between Kenya and Uganda. This is the Jumuiya the Senior Counsel was talking about. That since there is no protocol, therefore, there cannot be free movement of legal practitioners from different jurisdictions, contrary to the letter and spirit of Section 18 of the Advocates Act. These are all the issues we are going to canvass, we are going to look into, and take appropriate measures and decisions. So we shall keep you posted, we shall keep you updated, and definitely we'll get to understand the actions we are going to take. Thank you.
She remains our leader.
The point is, Dr. Besigye and Obed, exercising their right under the Constitution, chose Senior Counsel Martha Wangari Karua as the lead counsel, the team leader. So, as of now, until otherwise, she's our leader. She's the team leader. And that should be made very, very clear. Should be understood both by the government of Uganda and the General Court Martial, that Dr. Besigye has not withdrawn instructions from Honorable Martha Karua as the team leader, as the lead counsel. So that is the position we are carrying with tomorrow before the General Court Martial. Thank you. Keseri International team zigenda kweyongera ngabo mulaba Honorable Martha Karua wali Honorable Emiliana okuva Angola naye mumulabye amaze okutuuka. Ku makyenkya tusuubira abagenda okuva e Tanzania n'abalala abagenda okuva e Kenya ne mawanga amalala. Naye obuzibu bwe tufunyeemu nga bwe muwulidde, Law Council yafulumizaawo ekiwandiiko ku kusaba kwa Honorable Martha Karua kwe twasoose okuteekayo, nga ekiwandiiko ekyo kimalako ebyewungula. Nina ensonga ze yawadde lwaki yagaanye Honorable Martha Karua okumuwa practicing certificate. Ng'ensonga ezo tezirimu kanigguusa, tezirimu kinyusi, si za muzinzi, nga twesanze nga zirabika za byabufuzi. Era kyova olaba Honorable Martha Karua azizzeemu mangu nnyo n'annyonnyola emu ku emu. Bagambye ku nsonga y'okuba nti nno nga East Africa tetunnasayininga protocol ekkiriza abantu kutambula leba kuva mu kitundu kimu kulaga walala. Naye eggwanga lya Uganda lyerimu nga lirina Advocacy Act mu kawaayiro 18 bo bennyini ke baayogeddeko, nga kagamba nti balooya baddembe okusaba kasaba nga bava mu Commonwealth jurisdiction ne basaba Law Council ne bakkiriza okujja babaiko emisango gye bawoza nga Martha bwe yakoze. Bayogeddemu ekirala era ekigamba nti bo batunudde mu byafaayo ba Uganda, tewaliiwo looya yali avudde bweru najja n'awoza musango guli criminal, nti balabye abaali bazze wano bawoza giri civil, gino egyengasi egya gundi ngupabidde gundi, naye si gwa gavumenti ng'ewaabidde omuntu nti guno guli criminal, n'olw'ensonga eyo tebannalabayo omulala ogufaanana. Naye tebaasayitinze etteeka ligamba nti ekyo kimenya tteeka okujja wano owoze criminal case. Tebalina we bakyogedde. Kakati ekyo ne tukitunuulira nakyo nga kyabaddemu ekyebyobufuzi. Kandi baga nti ne Martha Karua yalabikako mu General Court Martial ng'ate Law Council yabadde tennaba mukkiriza. Akinnyonnyodde bulungi nga senior counsel yatuulawo okkirizibwa okutuula ku bba yadde tulina license. Kasita obeera nga towadressinze court, kyotalina buyinza gye bayita audience, naye osigala oli officer wa court, era kyakugambye n'okwambala robes oli waddembe okuzambala wonna w'oba oyagadde, kubanga oli puliida eyakakasibwa okukola omulimu ogwo. So ogwo tolina musango gwe yajja. Era baogeddeko kumugenda mu general ogenda naffe okusaba Chief Justice okutuwa judgment ey'emyaka emaze emyaka ena nga teweebwa ruling mu musango gwa mu appeal ya Attorney General mu musango gwa Kabaziguluka. Ruling eyo ng'emaze kumpi emyaka ena, bagamba ng'ennaku z'omwezi 5 omwezi ogw'omunaana omwaka 2021 nti tujja kuwa okusala kwaffe mangu ddala nga bwe kisoboka, kubanga guno omusango gulimu public interest y'amaanyi era guli agent, tujja kugumaliriza mangu. Era Chief Justice yennyini Owinyi Dolo n'agamba tugenda kugumaliriza mangu, naye kaakati tugenze mu mwaka 2025 tebannamaliriza. Kakati nga senior counsel n'atuwerekerako tugende tusabe Chief Justice musango ki awo gwe yazza. Kakati bagambye nsimanya empapula ze teyateekako practicing certificate ya Lord Mayor. Yes, section 18 egamba olina okulaga law firm gy'oli attached to. Ekintu ekyo twakikola nti ali attached to Lukwago and Company Advocates. Yo ennyini Law Council ye yalayisinsinga Lukwago and Company Advocates egirina. Actually Law Council teyinza kukkiriza law firm kukola nga teri licensed. Bo bennyini mu records zaabwe bayina law firm ya Lukwago and Company Advocates ng'eri licensed. Bali niwe ne PC copy eya Lukwago Erias bagirina, kubanga toyinza ganti licensinze law firm ey'omuntu ate nga ta practicinga, tekisoboka. Kakati akakasonga katono nnyo kubanga PC bagirina. Mbu empapula ze tezaali simanya notarized n'ebirala. Kibayita right to a fair hearing. Bw'oba oyina ekintu nga gwakola administrative work Goyina ebirala byewetaaga tulina kye bayita further and better particulars. Oyita omuntu n'omugamba tunyonyoleko ku kino ne kino tulabe tufune okusalawo nga tumaze okukkaanya ku kino ne kino. Naye olaba ebyo byonna tebaamuwadde right to a fair hearing ne bawandiika ekiwandiiko ekyabadde ekyakiyita mu lujja ate nga kikambwe balaze obusungu. Kye tugamba chairperson tumuwa ekitiibwa Justice Irene Mulyago obusungu bwayitiridde mu bbaluwa. Busungu bwayitiridde omulamuzi taba na busungu. Omulamuzi akozesa peeni n'amateeka. N'ebbaluwa yonna ogirabanga erimu obusungu. Era ne bagamba ekyasinze okutujja enviiri ku mutwe mu byonna bye bayogedde ekyasinze okutujja enviiri ku mutwe nga batiimu ffenna balooya bagambye nti bwe tumaze okwetegereza Dr. Besigye alina balooya bangi sitwalabyewo special skill gy'ogenda kwongerako mu bufunze nti tetulaba mugaso tetulaba kipya nnyo ekyamaanyi ennyo ky'ogenda okwongerako ku ligo tiimu eno ne ku musango. Ekyo toyinza kukisali, ekyo tetukisuubira kuva mu mulamuzi. Ssemateeka akirambika bulungi nti omuwawaabirwa yamanyi balooya kibe yeetaaga okuwa instructions n'okumuwolereza. Dr. Besigye, Obedi be bamanyi ensonga lwaki balonda Martha Karua okuba nga yakulira ligo tiimu eno yonna. Naffe ffenna abali wano ekyamazima tumanyi bulungi nnyo. Era kisoboka omusango era gibeerayo bulijjo omusango lwoyo omu n'agwoza ne wabeerawo ogulimu ababiri ne gubeeramu abasatu ne gubeeramu abana. Naye gwe teweebuuza lwaki guno omusango lwaki kubanga naffe tugenda ne tubuuza bo lwaki baasobola okukwata Besigye ne bamujja ne bamukidnapping omujjawa e Kenya ne batamulinda wali e Kasangati. Y'ensonga y'emu lwaki looya bw'ava e Kenya. Waliwo ensonga lwaki looya alinnye ennyonyi ng'Emiliana ono n'ava Angola n'ajja ng'ekimuleese wano gwe mulungi gwe ogusoose okujja wano ng'ekimuleese musango tazze ku birala. Ebalala b'e Tanzania balekawo birala bajja wano. Kye twagala obbakakasa ttiimu malirivu era siniya kanso waffe ye Martha Wangari Karua kuba Dr. Besigye we yatukwasa. Ttiimu eno gye mulaba ne Martha Karua, Emiliana n'abalala abagenda okweyongerako obumalirivu bwe tulina mu Bulinde enkya mu General Court Martial. Enkya tujja mu General Court Martial kyekyo mukulu Aaron Kiza kye yagambye tosumulula bitanajja.
Weesiimye mattu oli wa mukisa okukira abalala. Omugugu gw'ebizibu by'ettaka gukutikuddwa Brand Property Services Limited ku lw'ettaka eritaliiko nkaayana. Ennyumba eziwedde okuzimbibwa wamu n'ez'okupangisa, apartments ez'okupangisa wamu n'okugula mu mawanga ag'enjawulo okuli Uganda, Kenya, Bungereza, Dubai, America wamu ne Canada. Okuddaabiriza ennyumba oba ebizimbe byo, property management n'abasaveya abakugu abatakufere. Twekwate ku nsonga zonna ezekuusa ku by'ettaka nga kw'otadde n'okugobera ku kyapa kyo. Kati pazo y'eby'ettaka ebadde kukaluubiriza egonjoddwa bw'okwataganye naffe. Tukubire ku noti 703 noti 79 oba noti 773 noti oba otusange ku MT House omwaliiro ogusooka room 5 ewazana ku Entebbe Road okuliraana ekizimbe kya Muguluma Empire. Tukyalireko ne ku website yaffe www.brandpro.co.ug. Brand Pro Property Services Limited, tutuukiriza birooto.
Abalungi abatuwuliriza era abatulaba olunaku olwaleero tukyaddeko ewa Sheikh Asiraf Dembe.
Sebo nsanyusa okubalaba. Amannya agange Seeka Asiraf Dembe akola ku bizibu by'enjawulo. Omuntu singa aba alina ebirwadde tumusomereddwa, tumuwa amazzi ga lukuya nga bw'obadde ogalaba, tugenda abantu ku kyoto ne twokya emizimu emibi egibabaamu n'okulomba edduwa. Abantu singa abeera ng'ali wano atuuse sobola okumulombera edduwa, ne waba atatuuse nga mpadde amannya ge naye ng'ali wala. Naneetaase nze enamba yange yeeno eri 0701-736-3711. Nammwe bannyinaffe abali ebweru oyagala okuba nti oyagala okulombera ku ddwa ng'olina ebizibu viza zibuze amaka gakolongotana sente zikola zimpita mu ngalo ojja kumpeereza ekifaananyi kyo n'amannya go ebyo byokka bijja kummala nja kukulombera edduwa ojja kutereera. Olunaku olusembayo mu mwezi mba n'edduwa ey'awamu ffenna n'abalwadde bange abakadde n'abapya. Salaamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
In solidarity. Political issues, one of which is the continued persecution of members of the opposition, supporters of the opposition, and now increasingly leaders within the opposition. This cannot continue to happen, and we look on as if it is okay. It is not okay, and that's why we are here. But perhaps before delving much into that, ladies and gentlemen, today is International Anti-Corruption Day. This is a day that was set after the passage of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption in 2003 to raise public awareness against corruption. I thought it's important to let you know about this day because it's very critical. In Uganda, according to a report by the Inspectorate of Government, we lose over 10 trillion shillings per year to corruption. No wonder. We have got ailing hospitals and health centers, dilapidated schools, broken roads, and poor service delivery in general. Because the money that is meant to fix these issues is stolen by people in government. And so it's important that we continue to raise awareness, public awareness against corruption, especially on a day as critical as this one, the International Anti-Corruption Day. We must all in unison be able to condemn corruption in all its forms, regardless who commits it. There are many people in government that do that, many public officials, many civil servants, and for us in the opposition, we must beware to operate as carefully as we possibly can so that we have the moral authority to speak about corruption. Otherwise, when our hands are dirty, we then do not have the moral authority to speak about corruption. But when we ensure that we do what is right, we are able to be the moral conscience of the public regarding this matter. I thought I should throw that in. But now getting to the substantive matter as to why we have got our leaders here today. The arrest of our senior leader, one of our senior leaders within the opposition, Dr. Kiza Besigye. In fact, it was not an arrest, it was a kidnap from Kenya by Uganda security operatives. Is something we are saying we will not keep quiet about. We do belong to different political entities as the opposition, but we are more similar than we are different. The issues that make us similar, the hounding, the persecution, and all of that, it happens to all of us in various ways. And that should be reason for us, and especially our senior leaders, to come together and say no to this illegality being committed by the state using the military courts. Because it really is the state using these military courts to persecute for a long time opposition supporters, opposition leaders at various levels, and now very senior leaders of the opposition. And so we have welcomed our leaders here to in solidarity say no to this, to condemn it, and to say we want to jointly be in solidarity over this issue. Because today it is Dr. Kiza Besigye, tomorrow it can be any other of the leaders in this room, and that's why we are here today. The Constitutional Court has pronounced itself on this matter severally, saying civilians should be tried in civilian courts. But the state continues to use this as a stick against the opposition. An election is around the corner, and they will probably want to do this a lot more. So we are saying, no, let's come together now to condemn this before the state thinks it is okay to use it again and again. Because you see, once the state can do this to Dr. Kizza Besigye, and it is fine, even with the general opposition, tomorrow they'll do it to another. So we are here to let them know that when they touch any one of us, they have touched all of us in the opposition. And that is exactly why we are here, to express this solidarity. So I once again want to welcome our senior leaders of the different political parties in the opposition and the political entities within the opposition. Thank you for coming. Like I said, here at Parliament, we are only playing host, but the meeting is really for these are senior leaders, and they will be addressing us on this matter. At the tail end, we shall sign a joint communication in condemnation of this illegality that continues to happen, in solidarity of our senior leader and all the other opposition supporters who have suffered the brunt of this persecution. So I thank you, and I welcome you on behalf of my colleagues, members of Parliament, because this is our home as MPs. But many of you are senior leaders, you're not new to this place. You are OBs and OGs of this house. And so I would like to welcome you back to this, your house. A lot has changed since you were here. A lot has changed, and I'm sure you get surprised out there. I'm told there's been a bit more deployment today. I don't know whether it's because of these senior leaders being present. These are leaders, they're not terrorists. But anyhow, the state sees them as different. Getting them to access this place was very convoluted. A number of other leaders have been denied access to Parliament of Uganda. This Parliament on a daily basis welcomes all manner of people. People who are not even known, as long as they flash their ID at the entrance and they say, I'm going to the office of this member of Parliament, they will be allowed in. But these senior leaders in this country, some of whom have been in this Parliament as members, had to go through a lot for them to access. It's problematic, but that's all the persecution that we are going through, and we are hoping we can nip this in the bud. Mine was to welcome you and really to set the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome the President of the National Unity Platform to come and give his address to the other political party leaders as well. You're welcome, sir.
Now, is it working? Okay, now it's working. Thank you very much, Comrade Senyonyi. Today, ladies and gentlemen, being the International Anti-Corruption Day, I was wondering what better place is it to observe that day than here, the high temple of corruption. And I'm glad that we have some of our comrades that are fighting aggressively against that corruption. We salute you, Honorable Senyonyi, and your team. I won't give further comments on the International Anti-Corruption Day. Just tell your speaker that I've dedicated this day to her. I salute you, colleague leaders, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ugandans. I want to thank you once again, Honorable Senyonyi, for hosting this very important engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, on the 20th day of November, the nation woke up to the disturbing news of a cross-border abduction of Dr. Kizza Besigye and his colleague, Alhaji Obeid Kamlegeya. This was done in Kenya by Uganda's security operatives. It was done in violation of their rights, and in utter violation of international law. They were then smuggled into Uganda discreetly, of course in violation of any known extradition processes. And although these two were not serving military men, they were arraigned before the General Court Martial in violation of the Constitution and in violation, in utter contempt of all the pronouncements of the Constitutional Court. As we all know, numerous times the Constitutional Court has made it clear that it's illegal to try non-soldiers, civilians in military courts. We, as a National Unity Platform, have been the biggest victims of these kangaroo courts before, during, and after the elections of 2021. Over 2,000 of our members and supporters were abducted and detained on the orders of either the unit disciplinary committees or the division court martials or the general court martial. Most of them were charged with ridiculous trumped up charges of being found with military stores, literally referring to our red berets and red overalls. As we speak today, very many of them are still languishing in prison, 4 years and some more, without trial. Recently, all of us saw with shock how the regime forced and coerced some of our comrades to accept the offenses that they never committed. It was such a travesty of justice, and we call upon all Ugandans of good conscience to condemn it and continue condemning it. But before all this happened, you all remember that I was personally charged before the same court, the military court, and the regime presented 2 machine guns claiming that they were found in my hotel room in Arua. Of course, eventually, the guns disappeared, and out of both international and local pressure, the charges were dropped. So, when we speak about the oppression and the injustice in military courts, ladies and gentlemen, we don't just talk about it as academic knowledge. This is lived experience. We've been through it, and so many Ugandans continue to go through it. The court martial has been turned into a tool of oppression by General Museveni because he has full control of it. He decides who gets charged in the court martial, what charges are preferred against that person, and who does or doesn't get bail from the court martial. He uses it to punish and intimidate his opponents, and we condemn that. So here we come together knowing that Dr. Kiza Besigye and Haji Obed Kamulegeya cannot and will not get justice in that military court. We therefore jointly demand that Dr. Kiza Besigye's charges and Haji Obed Kamulegeya's charges be dropped, and if they can't be dropped, let them at least be charged in a civilian court because they are civilians. We demand that those charges, those bogus charges, be dropped against them. And I mean, looking at common sense, even if Dr. Kiza Besigye and his colleague were found with guns in Kenya, how does that become a monopoly? How do those guns become a monopoly or even the business of the Ugandan military? We are aware that these charges in the court martial are meant to intimidate, coerce, and ultimately subdue the people of Uganda and their leaders to stop them from challenging the corrupt system, the corrupt criminal regime of General Museveni. We are here to say to General Museveni that no amount of coercion, no amount of oppression, no amount of impunity will stop the people of Uganda from seeking better. And yes, no amount of intimidation will stop us from offering leadership to these people until we get to a country that we want to live in. Friends, so many dictators have done exactly, or even worse, to their people like Museveni has done to the people of Uganda. But history has taught us that they ultimately come crumbling down when people don't give up. From the dictators that we've seen in history, and yesterday it was Assad of Syria who has oppressed the people of Syria, him and his family, for more than 50 years. They came crumbling down yesterday. So yesterday it was Assad in Syria, and hopefully tomorrow it will be Museveni in Uganda. We ask the people of Uganda never to give up on hope, to keep fighting for what they rightly deserve, for keep pushing for liberation, because there's no doubt that their freedom is very soon coming. I want to thank you all for listening to me and request other colleague leaders to also give their comments. So it's my humble pleasure to invite you, General Mugisha Muntu, to kindly come and give your remarks. I thank you very much.
On behalf of our national coordinator, Honorable Ali Salaso, and on behalf of all the colleagues in Alliance for National Transformation, we've come to jointly stand with the rest of the opposition parties, stand in solidarity with Dr. Kizza Besigye and Haji Rutare, who were abducted in Kenya and have been arraigned before the military courts. Our demands are that Dr. Kizza Besigye and Haji Obed Rutare be tried in the civil courts, because both are civilians. I'd like also to talk about another aspect. We should make every Ugandan concerned about this particular case. It's not every day that governments go and abduct their citizens from other countries, most neighboring countries. One would have to look behind the mindsets of those who are conducting such an operation, where a government goes and abducts its citizens from another country and does not go through the established channels through which, when a person is arrested in a different country, processes are in place, are established, legal as well as diplomatic. That never happened, because they were abducted on Saturday, and by Sunday, they were in Makinde, taken through both borders, the Kenyan border and the Ugandan border, the official borders. So what would be the mindset of those who are conducting such an operation, considering the consequences of that? Kenya itself, I saw a few days back, the public servant representing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs trying to explain this question, because there are so many questions in Kenya itself. And I saw him almost speaking Greek, because he was not able to come out openly to say whether the Kenyan government was behind it or not. That wouldn't be facing the Kenyan government right now if those who are conducting the operation from this side were not operating from the mindset in which they are operating. We don't have information as why they would do that first and foremost, when they clearly knew that Dr. Kizza Besigye has been going out of the country and he comes back. And they were clearly aware that he would be back, that they would not wait, even if they had any case to put against him, to arrest him when in Uganda, should be a concern of all Ugandans. Why so? Because it would clearly mean that, one, either those who conducted this operation were in panic for whatever reason, one wouldn't understand. Two, that at their subconscious level, they have given up on the image of their government, that they no longer care about protecting image because basically maybe they think in their minds that they no longer have anything to protect in terms of image. You don't do that. As you can see, the attraction this case has raised regionally, continentally, and internationally. What government would not care about its image when there are consequences of that nature? Unless in the subconscious level, they have given up on image. They no longer believe that they got an image to protect. Three, or those who are who conducted the operation are inept, that they have no capability to weigh when they are conducting or planning operations of that nature, to balance a number of issues before they make a decision of that nature. Or four, they are so reckless that they don't care about what happens. Now, in case it is any of those four, or a combination of them, that should make all of us worried as Ugandans. Because the management of security forces is key in the stability of a country. So if it is because of recklessness or ineptness, it should be a cause for concern for all of us, including those who are in the regime. Because we have got people who have issues of that nature, to handle them the way they handle the matter. Even those who are senior in government, political as well as military, should think deeply on this particular issue. So we are happy and we thank you, the leader of opposition and the members of parliament who are here with you for hosting us this day. We should not let this matter rest. We are glad that there are regional interest, a number of political actors in this whole of East Africa at the continental level that are also raising pressure all around. We'd like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and also the members of the press for covering us today. Let me take this opportunity, therefore, to invite Honorable and former leader of opposition, Honorable Fula Ogutu.
Uganda Eyenkya.